From creepy abandoned hospitals to spooky old castles, we count 15 of the most haunted places in the world. Number 15. The ancient Ram Inn is believed to be England's most haunted inn, built in 1145 on an ancient pagan burial ground and the intersection of two ley lines. There have been tales of child sacrifices, devil worship and even spirits here in the past. Visitors to the inn often flee in the middle of the night, seeing full-bodied apparitions in their room. The current owners reported that on his first night in 1968, he felt a presence grab his arm before being dragged out of bed and across the room. He also found 2 child skeletons underneath the staircase together with some broken daggers. Number 14. Edinburgh Castle sits on land that has history dating back to the Iron Age. The castle has been the site of torture and many bloody battles. Staff and visitors have experienced many things over the years. The most common is the feeling of being touched and pulled, as well as the sightings of apparitions. Ghosts that have been witnessed include an old man wearing an apron, a headless drummer boy, and a piper who mysteriously lost his life after getting lost in the tunnels below the castle. Visitors often experience feelings of intense dread, sadness and despair. Number 13. The Myrtle Plantation, built in 1796 by General David Bradford, it is rumoured to be built on top of an ancient Indian burial ground and is considered one of America's most haunted homes. The plantation is apparently home to at least 12 ghosts. Among them is William Drew Winter, an attorney who lived there from 1895 to 1871. He was shot by a stranger, and as he staggered inside the house and up the stairs, he collapsed and died on the 17th step. His last dying footprint can still be heard on the staircase to this day. Number 12. The Gettysburg Battlefield is the site of one of the bloodiest battles of the American Civil War. Around 8,000 soldiers were killed and many more were injured there on July 3, 1863. Visitors to the park have reported seeing and even talking to phantoms from the past. Screams, moans, and the sound of gunfire has been heard and even recorded, all believed to be echoes from the horrific battle. Number 11. The Queen Mary is a very haunted ship according to the many people that have worked on and visited it. Once a celebrated luxury liner, it has since been transformed into a hotel. The most haunted area of the ship is the engine room, where a 17-year-old sailor was crushed to death trying to escape a fire. Knocking and banging on the pipes around the door has been heard and recorded by numerous people. At the front desk area, visitors have seen a ghostly lady in white. The spirits of children are said to haunt the ship's pool, and the ghost of a young girl who allegedly broke her neck in an accident at the pool has been heard asking for her mother and her doll. Number 10. The Whaley House has earned the title of the most haunted house in the US. Built in 1857 by Thomas Whaley on land that was once a cemetery, this house is the location of many ghost sightings. Some of the ghostly encounters include the spirit of a young girl who was accidentally hanged on the property. The ghost of Yankee Jim Robinson, a thief who was clubbed to death, can be heard on the stairway where he died, and the red-haired daughter of Whaley sometimes appears in such a realistic form she is often mistaken for a living child. Number 9. The Chateau de Brissac in the Loire Valley was originally built in the 11th century and is one of the tallest castles in France. A double murder that occurred here in the 15th century has resulted in one of the more popular ghosts of the chateau, the Green Lady. The current residents, Duke Brissac and his family, have become accustomed to her roaming the halls. She is often seen in the tower room of the chapel wearing her green dress. What's most terrifying, however, is her face. If she looks at you, you'll see the gaping holes where her eyes and nose should be. Number 8. Rainham Hall in Norfolk, England is most famous for the ghost of the Brown Lady, which was captured on film in 1936 in what is considered one of the most authentic ghost pictures ever taken. The first known sighting of her happened in 1835. Colonel Loftus, who was visiting for the Christmas holidays, was walking to his room late one night when he saw a strange figure ahead of him. As he approached, the figure disappeared. The following week, the Colonel saw the lady once again. He described her as a noble woman who wore a brown satin dress. Her face seemed to glow, which highlighted her empty eye sockets. Number 7. Mary King's Close is an underground warren of streets and dwellings. It was once a thriving trade area in Edinburgh, but was abandoned in 1645 after an outbreak of the plague. The infected were left behind in isolation. Since the 17th century, there have been reports of paranormal activity here. People have seen a worried woman in black and a little girl named Annie. The girl has been known to interact with people that leave gifts in one of the rooms. Other reports include scratching sounds, mysterious voices and footsteps that seem to follow you around. Number 6. The Castle of Good Hope, built in the 17th century, originally served as a station for ships passing the treacherous waters of the Cape. Ghosts of sailors and soldiers have been seen here for many years, and there's also a ghostly black dog who pounces on unsuspecting visitors, then simply vanishes. A famous haunting is of the Lady in Grey. She has been witnessed running through the castle holding her face and crying hysterically. However, since a woman's body was found during recent excavations, her ghost hasn't been reported again. Number 5. The Monte Cristo homestead is regarded as the most haunted place in Australia. From 1885 to 1948, the Crawley family owned this property. During this time, the family witnessed many deaths here, including the tragic death of a young child who was dropped down the stairs, a maid who fell from the balcony, and a stable boy who burned to death. There was also a mentally ill man who was chained up in the caretaker's cottage for 40 years. He was found curled up next to the body of his dead mother and sent to a mental hospital where he died shortly after. There are now reports of ghostly figures, strange lights and eerie sounds all around the property. Number 4. The Waverley Hills Sanatorium is an abandoned hospital that was dedicated to the treatment of tuberculosis. It's estimated that as many as 63,000 people died here. Those deaths, coupled with the reports of severe mistreatment of patients and highly questionable experiments and procedures, are perfect ingredients for a haunted location. There are many reports of strange paranormal activity, including voices and whispers around the corridor, isolated cold spots and unexplained shadows. Screams have been heard echoing in its now abandoned hallways. Number 3. The Eastern State Penitentiary, built in 1829, was originally designed to hold 250 inmates in solitary confinement. At the height of its use, however, as many as 1,700 prisoners were crammed into the cells. As a place of high emotional stress, misery and death, the prison has allegedly become haunted. Shadowy figures have been seen wandering the corridors, evil cackling has been heard coming from cell block 12, and in cell block 4, mysterious ghostly faces are said to appear. Number 2. Chillingham Castle was originally a monastery in the late 12th century, and King Edward I stayed at this castle on his way to Scotland to battle the Scottish army led by William Wallace. More recently, it was the seat of the Grey and Bennett families from the 15th century until the 1980s, and with its history comes its infamous ghosts. The most unusual and probably the most famous ghost is the Blue Radiant Boy, who according to the owners used to haunt the pink room in the castle. Guests supposedly reported seeing blue flashes and a blue halo of light above their beds after a loud wail. It is claimed that the hauntings of this ghost ceased after renovation work revealed the remains of a man and a young boy inside a 10-foot thick wall. Number 1. The Tower of London is one of the most famous haunted buildings in the world. This is probably due to the sheer amount of executions, murders and tortures that have taken place within its walls. Ghost sightings are common in and around the tower. Some of the ghosts include Henry VI, Lady Jane Grey and the princes in the tower. Perhaps the most well-known ghostly resident is Anne Boleyn, one of King Henry VIII's wives, who was beheaded in the tower in 1536. Her ghost is often spotted carrying her head in the tower's royal chapel.